let's just call it what it is. Another week where you're going to be using maximum trades available to you. And chances are you might not be improving your team drastically with your upgrade cadence. But some lucky teams, some smart coaching just might get you into that prime spot to really dominate for the rest of 2025. Premium forwards are out. A lack of really great rooks and some real stunted growth on some of our cash cows make it a challenging week. But crisis creates opportunity. And here at the Coaches Panel, I'm going to give you my top 10 trade targets for the week to hopefully help you navigate this interesting pre-bye week. My number one trade target, it is with a little bit of factor in mind that we're looking to trade out of at least one of our premium forwards this week. I'm talking Nic Martin as my number one trade target. Maybe you are just a Macrae owner, or you're a Macrae and a Horne-Francis owner, or just a Horne-Francis owner. Don't think there's too many of those. But it's a big decision to trade one, to trade both, to hold one, to hold both. By the way, listen to this week's strategy session if you want to get our full thoughts on it. But I do believe coaches are needing to trade at least into one premium forward or out of one of them. And for me, the best upgrade option this week is Nic Martin. He's got an amazing matchup this week. He comes up against the Tigers. One of the best matchups in SuperCoach at the moment is wingman against Richmond, and that is what he sits in. He's drifting back, taking kick-ins, get involved in their transition game, and then going forward and impacting the game. Even in that obliteration last week against the Bulldogs, he still pops up a mid-90s score and an absolute disaster fest for the Bombers. I can see he and the rest of his team smarting and coming out hitting hard. He's got a good buy that helps you with your buy structure, and the defensive forward eligibility should not be undersold, because not only is that going to help you with where and how you could upgrade and not feel forced into a line, but once you get out of the buys, it gives you the chance to still maximize, let alone this week, to still maximize a little bit of fixture opportunity to go, does my D7 have a better matchup than my F7 or my M9? And all of a sudden I can choose, no, I'd rather have Bice on field this week, or Lindsay on field this week, or Cleary on field. Whoever and however it is, Martin gives you that flexibility to make sure the best rookies on field based on matchups. So to me, the best trade target this week is Nic Martin. It is factoring the Horne-Francis and Macrae news in the mix for sure, but I'd still have him pretty high on my list. Don't forget, we had him in the trade targets last week. My number two trade target, let's give you a downgrade option. It's Cooper Simpson. Listed as a forward, but playing as a defender. Already 6% of the competition have jumped on him. He's under 120,000. He's on the bubble this week with a negative 53 break even. We don't have a lot of options that are sitting in this space. And I wouldn't say I'm high on his job security by any means, but over the last fortnight, he's really performed and held the structures and played accountable footy, and would be doing exactly what JL would be wanting and hoping to sit into this spot. So is he a sub or falling out of the best 23 risk? Absolutely he is. But in the two games he's played, he's looked good. He's shown composure. He's held his forward that he's lined up against accountable and got involved in the movement of the ball. It's as good as an option to downgrade as we're going to get. The beauty of having that round 13 bye also means not only is that easier to navigate with on-field outlets, he's going to play in the other 4 critical games, or at least have the opportunity to count towards your best 18 on-field. If you're making a pure downgrade, like going as deep into the cash cow territory as you can, this is the best option. It's not an awesome option by any means, but it's a good option for you if you're wanting to go all the way down. My number 3 trade target, this one might come as a little bit of a surprise to you, but I'm going to give you one anyway. Max Holmes, an average of 102. He's felt a little bit more volatile than that, multiple 120s, 130s, and then he dishes you up the 70s to kind of balance it out where it is. But I like him for a few different reasons. Number one, he's got an average at home, as in Geelong's at home, of 110 this year, and 2 of his big monster games have been there. And while on paper it's not a great matchup, the last 5 inside mid matchups against the Bulldogs are pretty tricky. What I do like about this one is who is going to get the attention of all of the Bulldogs players this week from Geelong. Bailey Smith. So one of the reasons that Max has some fluctuation in his scoring is his ability to run and carry and penetrate with ball in hand is an absolute ace and a weapon for the Cats. And so opposition teams clamp and give him no space and time with a tag, whether he's coming off halfback or rolling through that midfield. If anybody is getting tight attention from the Bulldogs, it's going to be Baslenka and not Max. Again, to find someone around that 500k price point that's got 130 plus ceiling, it's really hard to navigate that with confidence in the defensive line. But he's got a great fixture that's opening up. It really gets wide after the buys. I'm pretty happy to, it feels a week early and I don't disagree with that sentiment, but I'm happy to jump in here. 1 in 3 coaches own him. He's got a great ceiling. I think while it is a tough matchup this week, I'm comfortable to jump into Max Holmes. Let's open up the risk door, shall we? Okay. Kade Coleman is my number 4 trade target. He's not been great this year. I don't think I've recommended outside of last week anybody with an average as low as what he's dished up, and scarily still has a break even of 79, which feels way beyond him at the moment. But there's a couple of reasons why I want to put him in this spot. Number one, I want to remind you of a couple of things. Last year, he had 9 scores of 90 plus, including 2 tons. He is job secure when he's fit and healthy in this best 22, something that we are going to need through the buys. And he's only 35k more expensive than what Sam Lawler was at the start of the year, to put it in perspective. So getting into him, whether it be via a Pryor, via a Bice, via a Cleary, one of the reasons when we're downgrading to these sub 250k guys is we're trading in, and we just spoke about it with Simpson, a lack of job security and trust that they're going to be there for us week in, week out. Kai is going to be that, in my opinion. He's going to play, if fit, which he seems to be, every game of rounds 12, 13, 14, 15 in those first month of best 18s. He's going to be an available option. He's got the history of 90 plus scoring. He hasn't shown it this year, I know, but he's got it in the rear vision mirror of 2024. It unlocks some cash for you, and it's got the opportunity to potentially make you some money along the way. And if you're looking for someone that could play on field, that could pop a score, that is best 23 in their side and has a pretty reasonable, not awesome, but reasonable fixture, I think he's the guy that you could be looking at as a forward downgrade. Yes, there's another 120k you could activate if you went all the way down to Cooper Simpson. But if you're looking for someone that's got a little bit of historical pedigree, that will play you every single week and will help your buy structure a little bit more, Kai sits in that spot. You could wait a week on it, and I've got no problem if you want to choose to do that. The break even does feel like you might lose another, or gain rather, should I say, another 10, 20, or even upwards of 30,000 if he dishes up another 30 or 40 for us this week. But if you're viewing him more as the freeing up of cash and the opportunity to pop a little bit of a decent ceiling comparatively to his price point, I actually don't mind Kade Coleman as a trade target this week. You can do it next week and it won't cost you much more, if any more, but he sits in that spot. Then my number 5 trade target for you. Let's stay in the same lane. So again, walking you through so far, it's Martin, it's Simpson, it's Holmes, it's Lohman. My number 5 trade target, staying in the same team, Josh Dunkley, 555k, 110 plus average, a break even of 81, just doesn't let coaches down. And that's something that our premium mids have almost all done for us this year. He's got 8 tons this year, nothing under 80. He's coming off the back of 4 consecutive hundreds. Got that round 16 bye, which is really critical for our structures, and just never gets tagged with the likes of a Neil, a McCluggage in this team. You're just not going. In fact, he's the one that's going to play that negating role. And the good news is he's got a beautifully rounded SuperCoach game. Does take contested marks, does win the contested ball, does tackle and get the ball back in those defensive moments, does link up for the transition scoring, and is bobbed up forward and known to take a really important mark and kick a goal. So he does all the things that you want and can put comfortably in almost any opponent in any situation 50-point quarters up with little to no effort. He's that real bulk points per moment sort of scorer. I do like enjoying what Josh Dunkley does on the field. He's one of my favourite SuperCoach players to watch and own. If you're looking for someone that you just go, man, I need someone around that could always just be solid and consistent, can pop a ceiling, but doesn't burn me with basement, and could just pop me the nice big 150 on any given week. I like Josh. I like what he could be, and I'm happy to recommend him for you. Let's keep staying in this same team. My number 6 trade target, so 3 Lions in a row. But no, my number 6 trade target is Kade Coleman. Came back from his ACL last week. He's not yet going to see a price movement, so you can delay this move a week if you wish. But I did want to put him here because a lot of coaches are starting to go, well, I need to move on Bice. I need to move on Pryor. Need to move on Cleary. I need to fix the issues of a Huswade or a Hall. I need to fix whatever issue it is. And it's really struggling to activate cash. Well, Kiddy was somebody that we were looking as a community to start. Had he kind of come back from his ACL a little bit faster. The good news is he's had a couple of games. He scored a 72 last week, and they were really burnt in that last quarter. Melbourne just dominated them. So you can wait a week. I want to be very, very clear. You can wait a week on this. But you do make 90,000 of going of Riley Bice down to a Kade Coleman, and you're getting a comparable scorer, and you're helping your buy structure. It's a legitimate play. You can wait a week, and I wouldn't be hating on it as well. But with coaches looking to get creative this week, potentially you are looking at trading both a McRae and a Horne-Francis and trying to fix up a Bice or a Cleary rook that's topped out. Well, one of those guys getting into Coleman could just activate some creative cash generation for you to go there. You can wait a week. I want to stress that. You absolutely can. But if this is the sum of all parts is going to get you to the upgrades and the trades that you like, and structure your team to make sure you've got the right level of playing outlets during the mid-season buys, I'm actually happy for you to jump a fraction early on it. Our next option, he had a great last week. He's had a couple of good matches, and there's still at least 2 good games before his multi-buy round. Chad Warner sits in as my next trade option. He's pretty much what you're going to be paying for, though, is all I need to say. 539K, average of 100, break even of 102. You're basically paying for what you get, but there are some nice matchups either side of the buy, and I think 2 of his next 3 are really, really nice. The Adelaide game, not so, but 2 of his 3 look really, really nice on paper. I'm not worried about even if Callum Mills comes back into the team. He is just such an explosive scorer. He impacts the game. We know he's got that SuperCoach pedigree that can really bust out the 120s, 130s, 150s. And while you're not getting the value that he was at 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you are looking to move off of a McRae or off of a Horne-Francis and wanting to stay in the forward line and go, who's someone that still only 1 in 4 coaches own, that might help your buy structure, that has got ceiling about them, and I think he's a clear top line premium forward from now to the end of the year. Chad Warner, I'm very, very happy to recommend him as a trade target for you. Ready for my last couple of trade targets for you to go? I've got 3 more to go. So is this my number 8 trade target? Shai Bolton. Yeah, we're opening up the creative door for you right now. 4 of his last 5 games, he's gone triple figures. He's moved into this midfield with the absence of a Hayden Young and really added to that. He's scoring comparably to what we saw the strong Richmond era when he moved into that mids and came to win clearances, to get the ball inside forward 50, to create score involvements. And then from centre bounce going forward and creating real headaches, doing what Isaac Rankin is doing, but it was really Bolton doing it before Rankin did it. He's got Port this week, which I know historically we would say is a bad matchup for inside mids and for general forwards. But over the last 5 weeks, the tail is just turning a little bit on Port Adelaide. So I'm not as anti of and avoiding the matchup as I once was. He's got a negative break even, which for a guy at 430,000, if you can continue on the form and even just hit his average of 90, I think there's some great value for us. Because if we look since round 3, he's only had the one score under 87. So we've got a guy here that probably is closer to a 95 to 100, and he's coming in at value. And if you are looking to go, well, I need that 100K off the Macrae, I could do this, I could do that, I could move that, and you don't want to go all the way down to a Simpson, you don't want to make a move into your defensive, however you get there. If you think Bolton can be within 5 to 8 points per game of the top 5 forwards, it's genuinely an option because you've got a favourable buy. He's got a good role. He's shown he's got scoring. The only thing I will say is there was a game a couple of weeks ago where he scored a 5. And you might look at that and go, oh, he got injured. Oh, he got vested. 86 time on ground. 86%. He had a stinker. That's the only little flag for me that I would like to flag there. It is clearly an aberration. Clearly. And it was that game they got absolutely smashed by the Saints. But anybody that can play 86% time on ground and still not get a score in the double digits always just gets the heart fluttering in the worst kind of way. So that is the only thing that would scare me away from Bolton, because he offers great value, offers a good role, offers a great buy structure, offers good value based on performance historically this year and in his career based on his price point. But anybody in less than a month that can dish up a 5, you're not great, is it? My number 9 trade target is for a limited number of coaches, but I'll give it to you anyway. Thomas Sims is my number 9 trade target. I'll tell you why he's limited. I don't love his scoring ceiling still from his 2 games. He is on the bubble for us this week with a negative 26 break even, but from his 2 games, hasn't scored over 50. I don't see a key position forward, ruck relief Richmond player in a young and developing team. And let's give them credit. They've outperformed what I think the majority of not only Tigers fans, but just football fans in general thought they were going to do. But he's sitting in this role. He's playing a good ruck forward role, but I don't like it more than a Cooper Simpson. He's got an opportunity at the moment to play alongside Lynch and Fall and doing a good job. However, there is one set of coaches that I think could really maximise this, and that is those that own an Archer Reed. If he is your R3, you are going to make 103K accessing that, because it's just money that's sitting there at the moment. You haven't been able to activate, and he's actually lost a little bit of cash over the last 2 to 3 weeks when he's really maxed it out. For a lot of coaches that have got Boyd, that have got Heath, that have got a dead red 3, you've got $103,000 accessible to you now of cash generation that they do not have. I would not move if you have the R3 type sitting there that has not made any money. This is not a move. He's not going 70s and all of a sudden he's going to be a fieldable option that will probably count in your best 18s over the next 5 weeks. You do not want him counting to your best 18. But if you're an Archer Reed owner and you want to access some of that money, that $100,000, you can do so. He's a 40s guy. He's going to get a few games of opportunity with Armstrong still out for at least another month plus. He's looked fine and solid, but key position forwards at Richmond aren't a favourable spot, and relief rucks, it's not favourable. He's still very, very raw. He's showing a lot of promise, but key position players like this just take time. So if you're an Archer Reed owner, I'm actually really for it for you. If you're not, jog on and come to my number 10 option. And he's been in the same spot as he was last week, and maybe people aren't keen, but I want to put Matthias Philippou back on the radar for you. Was not great last week, without any doubt in it. But he's not going to be any worse for you than what he has been. Again, let me give you an illustration of how Matthias could help you. He's on the bubble this week, a break even of 56. So he'll go up in cash if he hits that average in the mid-60s at the moment. But here's what he could do for you. It's not just looking at Matthias as, oh, could he be a premium forward? I don't think he's going to be that far away once the whips get cracking for him. But with a Macrae out of the side, they do need that opportunity and explosive power in the midfield a little bit more. I know he spent some time there last week, but he's building, coming back off no preseason, no injury. So they've got to manage his loads through here. But hypothetically, let's show you how getting into Philippou could really help you. It's going to activate about $200,000, jumping off of teammate McRae down to Philippou. And that 200K, what could you do with that? Well, all of a sudden, that's probably the money you need to take Bryce up to a Max Holmes or up to a Nic Martin. Or if you've got no cash generation coming through in your team right now, maybe you are sitting there with a Hayes, a Bo Allen. I wouldn't trade out a Bo Allen, by the way. A Huswaite, a Hall, a Stone. These red dot options that just don't appear to be having any money to be making for you and are just sitting there as an inevitable nothing spot. Well, you could take, let's use Huswaite as an illustration point. That 200K that you've activated out of Filipo and put it on top of a Huswaite and go and get yourself a Kiddy Coleman. Yes, you've got to do some dual position movements around and things like that. But all of a sudden, you're trading into two value options that will help you with your bias structures that you're paying at their basement for. And there are people that have opportunities, job securities, and you're fixing structures and dead cash generation options up. This is the year we do need to look at this sort of creative thing. We cannot in SuperCoach just go, last year I did this, or my previous 10 years of playing SuperCoach, this is the cadence of how I upgrade and navigate through the buys. This year is unique. You can't play the cards you've been dealt off prior years and try to activate them this year. You've got to deal with the circumstances and scenarios you have this year. And this year, we do need to look at trades like this. Is Philippou popping off, going amazing right now? No, he's not. But you're going to be trading into what you believe he could be, which I think his basement is closer to an 80s forward. And at 313K to get an 80s forward, I think that's pretty solid, let alone the money that could activate for you if you are coming out of a player like a McRae. Even if you're jumping up to a Cleary, you're at least maximizing better performance on field. So there's creative cash generation we've got to look at. And to me, Mateus sits in that spot. So those are my top 10 trade targets for the week. Did I name any that you are looking at? Did I give you some new names to consider? I'd love to know. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. Give this video a like and comment below. Let me know what are the 2 or 3 trades that you plan to make this week in SuperCoach. Already this week on the channel, we have got our strategy session episode. It is there for you to check out. If you play AFL Fantasy, we've got a top 10 trade targets episode for you also. And on Thursday afternoon, I'll be dropping my dual position predictions. At the end of the round, SuperCoach will be adding a bunch of new players to have a secondary position. There's some names that I think could excite and some names that are just not getting it that we want to put to bed for you. Make sure you check that out when that lands, if it's not out already for you. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed what you've got from the coaches panel so far this year. We can't wait to be helping you with your SuperCoach side again very, very soon.